There's a few blokes that would argue could be in your 22. Are they going to be pretty much training with no reward this week?
Perhaps, yeah. We didn't have any injuries from the weekend, and there was some really good signs from our young players in the game against North, and so it's hard to see us making too many changes. But you're right, we've got a lot of guys in really good form in the SANFL who are pressing for selection, and some experienced players too. Like Yench and Henderson, Matty Wright, Callanan, John Cox. So it's there's plenty of options for us if we wanted to make any changes. But at this stage, it doesn't look like we'll be making too many adjustments to the 22 from last week.
Brad Crouch looked like he was really cemented in that 22 before he's hammy, but is he going to have to work his way back? I asked that more from a dream team perspective.
Yeah. Crouch is he's such a great young talent, and he'll be right in the mix again this week. He didn't have his best game for Westies on the weekend. However, he's too good a young player not to bring back into the side soon. So we'll have to look at the way we structure up, but at this stage, it's going to be difficult to see too many changes to our side this week.
What was it like reviewing the game a week? Again, that's such a good game.
Yeah, it was difficult because as much as we had so much excitement at the end, there was still some really poor passages of play and some times where we were really disappointed with how we structured up. So there were still plenty of positives, and we reviewed the game almost with a balance of 50-50. So there were some great things to see, and also some areas that we had to address. So we've still got a fair bit of improvement left in us, I think.
Sando, would it be fair to say if you played like that, it was Freo and even Sydney, you won't win because of the way they just shut things down?
Fremantle are a fantastic defensive side, and they're the best side at the moment in the competition for shutting you down. And when you look at inside 50s against, I think they only give up 40 a week on average. They held Melbourne to 8.5, on the weekend. They really can lock you away. But we like the way that we attack. When we get the ball out in space and when we can break that first line of defence, we're a really hard side to defend. Our ball movement's been pretty sharp this season. That's been the one thing that's been really consistent. So we'll certainly take the game on. We'll look for opportunities to get the ball outside of Fremantle. But yeah, we understand this is a really good defensive side. We have to be at our best to beat them.
So will Sam Jacobs lead the ruck on Saturday?
Yeah, he will. We've still got lots of faith in Sam. He didn't have his best game on the weekend, and obviously we subbed him out, but I thought he'd turned the corner a bit with his form the previous couple of weeks prior to that. So we'll certainly back him in this week. He'll play, and he'll be the first ruck at the first centre bounce. But yeah, it was a bit of a shame for him because he just couldn't get going. It seemed. I love that hit out when our first goal of the game, the hit out the back to Bernie Vince who scored. But we need Sauce at his best for us to be playing well, and I'm sure we'll get a much improved performance this week.
What about the tap out? I think it was Cunnington and he tapped on the goal. What happened?
Yeah, that was a mistake. Yeah, miscommunication at ground level, and he was in a great position and he just got too much on it. Hit the ball outside, just missed Scotty Thompson inside the contest. But I think we'll see a much better Sauce this week.
Why did he struggle this year?
A combination. I think he put a bit too much pressure on himself early in the season. We probably rucked him too much. He didn't. The first probably 6 games or 5 games, we went with just Jacobs and Jenkins. Since Taylor's injury, since Tex's injury, we've brought McKernan in, and Jenkins has been a bit more as a sort of permanent forward, and McKernan's done a lot more ruck work. So that helped him the last couple of weeks. But on the weekend, I thought Goldstein obviously got on top of him and didn't have his best game. But I think probably 2 ruck formulas is going to help us going forward.
Do you need more reinforcements long term in the ruck? There's been speculation being linked to people with Green and Curry today.
At the moment, no. Angus Graham is the guy we brought in from Richmond last year, and he's starting to play some really good footy for Sturt. He was a bit slow to get going as well. He had some issues with some fitness, but he's starting to play some good footy in the SANFL as well. So we've got currently 5 ruckmen on our list. But yeah, Sauce is our number 1 guy. We've got a lot of trust in him, and I'm sure he's going to turn his form around.
So will you revisit that at the end of the year? Will you need another ruckman?
We revisit everything at the end of the season with our depth across tall defenders, forwards, midfield depth, and our ruck stocks. So I'm pretty happy with the way they are at the moment. But yeah, we'll certainly review it at the end of the season.
Right now, where's maybe holes in your list? Because other guys have been linked with in the last week, Scotty Gumman and Essendon and Joe Polo at Brisbane.
Yep.
So right now, Where's the area of the list you think you'd like to reinforce in the off-season?
Well, I guess the area that we've lost a lot of players recently has been key defenders. Ben Rutten's had an amazing season. You know, he's playing out of his skin at the moment and doesn't get a lot of recognition externally for the jobs he's done this year, but he hasn't missed a beat yet. He's 30 years old. You know, Talia's been fantastic as well, but that's probably one area that we'll keep looking at options is key defenders. But I'd love another key forward and just keep bringing great young midfield talent through the squad as well. But probably the order of preference would be a key defender.
And you'll be proactive this year if you want to spend lots of stuff?
Yeah, we will. I mean, we have to get a bit adventurous with how we bring young talent into the side because we haven't got access to first round and second round draft picks. So we'll certainly have a look at free agency. We'll certainly have a look at ways we can trade players into our club. But that's a discussion I think for the back half of the year. And you know, David Noble's working really hard behind the scenes to ensure that we're going to be good long term, not just short term.
You mentioned obviously key back, but the big key forward you said you wouldn't mind having Buddy wouldn't be out of the question.
Oh yeah, Buddy would be incredible for anyone, you know. But we've got to look what fits our squad long term, and it's probably once again a question that we'll answer back in or looking forward to October rather than May.
So Richard Douglas, he's really taken the next step this year. How impressed have you been with the way he's played this week?
Yeah, I'm certainly our most consistent player through the first 9 games. He'd be right up there in our best and fairest at the moment. And you know, midway through the year when the experts start picking their All-Australian squads and their All-Australian teams, he'd have to be right in the mix. You know, he's two-way running, you know, attack and defence as a midfielder. You know, he's been very, very consistent with that for us.
What about Jared Lyons? How have you seen him?
They're very good. I thought at half time on the weekend when we weren't playing our best footy, I thought it was our young players that were the ones that were really standing up for us. So, you know, Kerridge, McKernan, Lyons were the ones that were really standing up for us. So he's been a great player in the last sort of 3 weeks that's come in and played his role for us. And once again, he plays a bit of a supplementary role alongside of Dangerfield, Thompson, Sloan, Vince, but yeah, he's certainly playing his role and playing it really well.
I know we always have a running commentary on Graham Johncock, but how's he progressing? I see you kicked another couple of goals on the weekend.
Yeah, his SNFL form is good, and we mentioned at the top that he'll be in line for selection again this week. But at the moment, it's hard to see us making too many changes to our current group. You know, we have got some young players in there who, at some point, you know, it's a long season. It's such a higher intensity this year again compared to the previous year and the year before that. So the young bodies sometimes can't sustain form for 22 rounds. But at some point this year, Graham's going to come back into the side, and I'm sure he's going to play well.
You touched on how you I suppose dissected the win over the Kangaroos. A lot of fans and so forth just go, they'll be excited because you won and they'll be thinking things
Yep.
are going great. But if you were to grade the side in generic terms, good, fair, poor, average, how are you travelling at the moment?
Probably a C+. You know, we've still got a bit of work to do, to be honest. I think the top 5 are real standouts. So when you look at Geelong, Hawthorn, Essendon, Sydney, Fremantle, those 5 sides are the real standouts. There's a bit of a logjam, I reckon, from probably 6 down to 12. Some sides who have had some issues with injuries and inconsistencies with form. But we'd like to see ourselves, you know, string a really good month together and go into the bye with a bit of confidence to attack the second half of the year. So we've still got to get a lot of things better, a lot of things right, and like I said, probably C+ is where we see ourselves at the moment. And great win on the weekend, great for the spirit around the footy club and the energy around the organisation. But yeah, we understand we've still got a lot of improvement left to go.
What areas mainly will improvement come from?
It's a tricky one because there's a lot of little things that we need to get better at. Before the weekend, I was really happy with how we were defending. You know, we had, I think, 3 of the 4 lowest scores against for the season, and we were 3rd overall for our points against. But you know, we allowed North Melbourne to get that free-flowing outside, uncontested ball going, and we couldn't defend it at times. This week, we're going to have a really good test for our attack against a really good defensive side. And the next week we play Sydney, who do exactly the same. So it's a real good test for our attack the next few weeks. but our contested ball and stoppage numbers are nowhere near as good as what they were in 2012. So that's another area that we have to get better at. So across the board, a lot of little things we have to improve. If you're going to be a top 4 side, you have to do those things consistently well each week, and at the moment we're not doing that.
Mate, Tom just touched on, Graham Johncock and so forth, and a lot of supporters, he's a fan favourite and so forth, but can you just give him some insight into, I suppose, list management in the sense that sometimes you might have to play a younger fella who's not necessarily in your best 22 right now, but you need to play him because they'll be in your best 25 or a dozen in a year's time.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I don't agree with the term rebuilding. You'll never hear that from me. Every team's rebuilding. So that's Geelong, Hawthorn, Adelaide Crows. We are always rebuilding, and that's actually what we call list management. So you've got to have a good balance of experience in your side, but also you have to expose your younger players to AFL games as well. So you need that really healthy balance of experience and depth, and but also 2 young players. So at the moment, we're the 4th youngest team playing at the moment. Now, on the weekend, only GWS, Gold Coast and Port Adelaide were younger than us in experience. So we're still trying to win games while exposing our youth to AFL intensity. So we're forever rebuilding, you know, but we don't call it that. We call it list management, and it's important that our fans understand that we're trying to win every week, but we're also trying to inject some youth into our side as well.
You talk about, you've been asked a lot about the lockdown style with Freo. How important is it to play your own style though? Because you probably got caught up in Kangaroos' open style. You don't get caught up in their lockdown.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, we'll take a bit of confidence into this week because we beat Fremantle 3 times last year, and I guess we're one team that does take them on. We do back ourselves in, and while they will try and lock us away, we can't just cop that and say, you know what, this is a good defensive team. We've got to try and take the game on. We've got to take the ball forward against them, and as well as they set up, we can't just allow them to turn the game into a really ugly defensive battle.
Dave Mundy said they owe you one after losing the last 3. Obviously expect a really tough challenge.
Yeah, I must admit we beat them last year in that final. They came over to us on the back of 2 6-day breaks in a row. They had to travel to Melbourne, then to Adelaide. We probably got them at the right time, to be honest. You know, I think Pavlich was carrying an injury at the time last year, so we understand that they were a bit under strength and they were pretty tired towards the end of last season. But this is a really good side. You know, we really rate Fremantle. They are so well coached. They're so well structured. They're a very disciplined outfit. So we really have to be at our best to beat him this week.
How tough is Ross Lyon to coach against?
I'll rate him right up there. You know, there's some great coaches in the AFL, but Ross does get the best out of his group. They just know where almost all of their teammates teammates are in defence, and they still move the ball well in attack. And they're a team that they're really hard to plan for because they're just so well structured.
Brenton, a lot of people said your move to take off Jacobs at the end during the weekend was genius. Do you feel like you're coaching out better than you do the coach?
It's a hard one. If we'd lost that game, I would have been disappointed because we're still not playing our best, and I've got great support around me too. It wasn't just a senior coach decision. We had a good debate as coaches about all the moves that we make. But I hope that I hope that I'm coaching well at the moment. I'd like to be winning more than what we are. 5-4, but at one stage we were 2-4. So it felt like we've turned the corner a bit in that Hawthorn game. Our last 4 weeks have been much better. But we've got a young side in it, as I said, who are going to show some inconsistencies at times, but we'll certainly keep backing him in.
Your players are a C+, what do you
C. No, I can always coach better. I'm pretty hard on myself too, and I look for ways to keep getting better. I mean, sometimes we just look at wins and losses as a measure of success, but I feel like we are coaching well as a group, and we're looking for ways to get better. Yeah, always a challenge. Yeah, I'd love to have Dean in the back of the box as well, with his senior coaching experience and his knowledge. He's working really hard with us during the week as a coaching group, but his inability to do any coaching with players has been a real challenge for us. So we have to get on with it. Round 16 he's back, but in the meantime, he's working hard behind the scenes to ensure we're getting better as a coaching group.
You mentioned that need for key defenders earlier on.
Yep.
How's Kyle Harding going? He looked like he might be able to...
Yeah, really good. Yeah, he's certainly developing, and we certainly like Luke Thompson too, and we drafted Sam Siggins last year. So those guys are still working really hard to develop. But but we've been fortunate, you know, Rutten and Talia haven't missed a game yet. If they did, we've got Hardigan and also Luke Thompson there ready to go. Sam Siggins is still very young, but he can certainly be a development player for us. But, you know, having said that, Henderson can play as a sort of third tall back. Otten, Riley can play tall. We can flip Jenkins or McKernan back if we needed to. So we've still got the depth there, and we can still shuffle the magnets around. But you know, as I said, Rutten is really playing out of his skin at the moment. He's playing as well as I've ever seen him play, and it's really important that we keep him rolling as well.
So you said you might need to get adventurous with drafting, and that's what you might need to get adventurous with positioning changes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we flipped the side around a little bit so far this year. You know, we put Jensch forward against Carlton. We put Otten forward against Carlton. Sam Shaw's another one in the second half of the year when he comes back from injury. He might be another option for us, either forward or back. So we've still got the talent there on the list. But maybe I'm just getting a bit greedy as a senior coach. I want good players in every position and plenty of depth.
Rutten was 30 yesterday.
Oh, he was too, yeah.
Got left in him.
The way he's playing, he could keep playing for another few more seasons, you know. Sometimes age is no barrier for some guys. You look at Dustin Fletcher as still rolling as a 38-year-old. But I think Truck's got a couple of still really good seasons left in him.
Yes, and free a lot of players out injured, obviously. It's amazing what they've done with those guys on the sidelines. Are they harder to plan for right now with guys mixing and matching as opposed to their best side?
I'd rather play them with their injuries than without, to be honest. But you're right. I mean, they have got some great talent out of their side still. They'll probably get Hill back this week, who's another headache for me. But yeah, they're a really hard side to plan against, no matter who's in their team, because they're just so well structured. Thanks, guys.